Hey there, everybody. I'm just doing a little bit of 7 TCU stuff this morning. New caliber to introduce to you guys. It's a lot like the 6 TCU. I got it over here on the bench. And I did some fire forming yesterday. So I fired off 50 rounds, 50 pieces. So I got 50 pieces of brass. I got 50 more. I figured I'd take you along and we'd load them up today. Can't show you everything because of YouTube regulations, but I'll put you in speedy mode and we'll just charge them up, seat bullets, and do a little talk. Stand by. Alrighty, the 7 TCU. Back up a little bit. Designed, what was it, the 70s? I'm thinking it was the 70s. I should have done a little bit of research so I can give you exact, precise, accurate information. But a little gun shop, a man named Uglade, come up with this line of cartridges, taking the 223 case and reducing body taper and increasing the shoulder angle to 40 degrees from the typical 223's 23 degree. Body taper reduced. The diameter of a 223 case is approximately 375, 377 at the base, and then it tapers to about 370 at the shoulder. And it's done that way for feeding and reliability. You know, it's designed for a semi-automatic rifle. So when you're loading it in a single shot, and when you're loading it for optimal performance, optimal efficiency with the cartridge, you want to get as much capacity as you can. You want to have an optimal length of the neck, which many go by approximately a caliber's depth. So 284, you want to be around 300 or slightly less for a neck length. All formulas for today's modern stuff to be optimal. Back in the day, it was longer necks, like you saw with the 3030, 3006, all those cartridges, 3040, Krag, a whole bunch of them. 6mm Rem even, you saw really long necks, and that was to support the bullet. And there is a lot of information to support that theory as well. But modern efficiency is shorter necks, sharper shoulders, and less body taper. We started seeing that probably with a number of cartridges. The 300 Savage saw some of that. The 284 Winchester saw some of that. Both of those are dating back quite a few years. And you're seeing it today with all the modern short cartridges, along with rifling twist rates to stabilize the longer bullets for longer ranges. Anyway, back with the TCU. And he made a whole bunch of them. He made 24, 25, 26, the 6.5, a 27, the 24, the 7mm, what we're talking about here, and he even made a 30. The popularity of them is pretty minuscule. The 6, 6.5, and 7 are the most popular, and of those, the 6 and the 7 are most popular, and of those, the 7 is by far the most popular. You even see 7mm data in a number of manuals as early as just a few years ago, still published. Really popular in silhouette circles. It's pretty miserly on powder. You're dealing with 25-ish grains, just like you are with the 223. You get up into the 30s, but primarily you're in the 25 to 30 grains of powder. It'll shoot bullets, any 7mm bullet. It's twisted 1 in 10. So it may not be optimal for the really long ones, but it'll shoot them. What else? It's get really efficient velocities. You'd be amazed. 24-inch barrel, 120 grain bullet. It's pushing 24. It's solid 23s, 100 feet per second. That's darn respectable, if you think about it. I mentioned it in the video yesterday. Well, I made it yesterday. I don't know when you guys watched it, but I mentioned in the video that comparing it to the 300 Blackout, which of course is a shorter case. We all know that it's designed for really heavy bullets, and it has a different design parameters. So it's really not fair to compare. But let's just throw out the velocities out there, because that's what we all look at, the velocities and the bullets it'll shoot. So shooting a 120 grain bullet here and a 110 grain bullet there in the 300 Blackout, 16-inch barrel, Optimal velocity is just over 24 with a 110 grain bullet. This will do virtually identical with a 10 grain heavier bullet in a 2-inch shorter barrel. Even in a 10-inch barrel, it's still doing solid 22s, 175-ish feet per second less. That's darn efficient. And recoil-wise, you're in the heavy 357 Magnum. So it's not punishing. It's a big boom. You saw in the video, you saw some of the flashes. And for powders, that's that powder right there, WC 844, which is a military powder. Old. Been around for a while. Still people have it. Obviously, CW's got some there, and I've got a few other pounds of it. But it's basically an H335 equivalent powder. I find it's a little bit hotter, so I don't quite use full H335 data. At least I don't initially, I work up. That load I had there yesterday was taken out of the Contender Manual there that I have the Contender on. And I'll show you. And I've told you this before, I've mentioned it before. I don't tell you anything, I just give you information. You do with it as you like. But this is a really good manual. And this one goes all the way down to the 17. Now there's another manual with a different color cover. And that's a good one too. And I'll show you that one here. That's got the green cover. But this one starts at 30 carbine. So it does have a few more cartridges than this one does. But I shouldn't even say it that way because it really doesn't. It has a lot of the same, but this one starts with a 17 and stops at 45-70. This one starts with 30 and stops with 45-70. But there's a few other calibers in here. Like there is 300 Whisper, 300 Blackout data in here, and there's not 300 Whisper data in here. So they're both worthwhile to have. They're not overly expensive. You can pick them up. And basically what they are, what makes them so nice is they don't have any of their own data really, per se. What they do is, we'll look at 7mm because of course that's what this video is about. And what it does is it takes data from other manufacturers. So this is Nosler data, reprinted by permission. And it gives Nosler data for their bullets with the powders they tested and the pressure levels and the load densities and all the good information that you want to have. Here's Sierra's information with Sierra bullets, Sierra's data, the barrel length, and they're calling it 1 in 9. I thought it was 1 in 10. Could be my bad. What do they say over here in Nosler? What does Nosler give it for our twist rate? 1 in 9. Okay, so my bad. 1 in 9. So it will do the 175s without a problem. There's Sierra data, and Sierra does it nice. Sierra gives you data for 100 grain, but with a 10 and a 14-inch barrel. So you can see the velocity difference. So with a 10-inch barrel, they're saying 21. With a 14-inch barrel, they're saying 23. Get over here, 130 grain, 120 grain, 130 grain bullet, 14-inch, they're calling for 2100, and they're calling for 1950. And it goes all the way up to and including 160s, I believe. Yeah, 160s. And a 160 grain bullet in a 14-inch barrel is still going 1950. That's darn respectable. Darn respectable. Here's some Lyman data. So you got lead bullet data in a couple different molds. Here's RCBS data. RCBS has 2 really nice bullets. This is the one I thought I was buying when I made that trip the other day. I didn't, maybe you guys don't know about it, but I ran up to a gun shop. It's about an hour away because I knew they had 2 7mm molds. And I wanted a longer 7mm bullet for the TCU because we'll talk about it when I get reloading here, but I like the bullet really long so it seats into the rifling because I want to have 100% headspace for my fire forming loads. And you can't do it with a short bullet. This may have been long enough, but I don't know. But a 160-ish grain bullet would have been long enough, and that's what I wanted. I thought I was going to be buying this one and this one because they had 2 molds there. But what they had was 2 Lyman molds, 287 641, which is a 160 grain silhouette bullet. Right in line with what these are. These are both silhouette bullets. And I'm not bothered by buying it. I like it. You know, it's a good one. Looking over here really quick, they're listing the Thompson Center Contender with a 1 in 10 twist. So that would be where I had read it. So we should test it and see exactly what it's got for twist. But I'm probably going to stick with, you know, these big heavy ones for fire forming, but probably be loading 120s, 100s, 130s for use. And here's where I got my data, H335, and they're saying 25 grains as a starting load, and they're listing 1834 for a velocity. So I dropped that down 2 grains less, and I did my fire forming load. And of course I didn't use H335, I used WC84, 844, which is equivalent. And then here's some accurate data with 1680 powder, 2015 powder, 2015 2230, and 2460. I think that's the end, and 2520. And then we're into the 270 Ren, just another caliber. If you don't know about this one, it's a pretty neat one. This is a 22 Hornet case with a 270 bullet. So it's not really any kind of a screamer for velocity, but it's a nice shooting, nice little cartridge. So that's this manual, and it's a good one. So let's look at the rifle here really quick. I'm sorry, we're not talking about rifles, we're talking about pistols. This is the barrel, and I just ran a mop through it, so I got a little bit of oil running off. It came with this base on it. This is a Leopold quick release base. This is the same as what's on the 6.5, I'm sorry, the 6mm TCU, because I bought it from the same guy. There's the barrel. Zoom in here. 7mm TCU, Thompson Center Arms, Rochester, New Hampshire. And what I didn't know, which I was pleased to see when I opened the box, is this is a custom shop barrel. Very nice. I knew it as soon as I looked at it because the custom shop barrels have this matte bluing where the standard barrels are all gloss. Nice recessed crown. Full profile. Very nice. I really like this fore end. And I also picked up another one of these fore ends. This is a 10-inch because it's got one screw. It's on a 14 because I drilled a pocket. But the one I bought is identical to it except it's a 14, so it's going to have 2 screw holes. So I'll have one for the 10 and one for the 14. Optic, I don't know yet. I do have another 7-power Burris, which I may stick on here. I really like it on the 6 TCU, so I may stick it on here, but we'll see. But really a handsome gun. This is an early frame, not the easy opening, but you see, and I opened it with one finger, just my thumb. They're not difficult to open. What can be difficult is some barrels. The lockup on some barrels makes them more difficult to open. Not so much the frame or the frame design as it is some of the barrels. But this one snapped right on. Works beautiful. I just really like that's just really a handsome firearm. So we'll see what we get on here for some glass. Having this quick release is a nice thing because maybe I could run that 7 power and then pick up a smaller one or get a smaller or use a smaller scope for other stuff. When I don't want all that power, I can throw a 2 or a 3 on here. Just pulling it off, putting it back on, and it holds 0 really well. All right, so we got 13 minutes in here, and we haven't touched anything for reloading, and that's what this is supposed to be about. So let me get this cabinet closed up behind me. Get this gun down. We've already got the load. I know what I'm going to use. I've got the bullets out. Let's look at the bullets really quick. I didn't show you the mold or anything because, you know, YouTube's regulations on bullet casting. I don't want to have any problems. But this is the bullet that I cast. This is that Lyman 287 641. These are running right at 165 grains. Gas checked. And I got them sized to 285. So 1,000ths over. These are cast with clip-on wheel weights with a almost 2 pounds of mono metal, which is a really hard metal. So these should come in pretty hard. Not rock hard. They're not, you know, brittle. but I wanted them a little bit harder. And these are coated with a mix of mine. This is a Sherwin-Williams pewter, or I think it's pewter. It's a silver pewter color with a little bit of purple. Doesn't really come off in this light, but it's got a little bit of purple, Sinbad purple in there from Walter Viejo, sent to the channel. So there we go. Good bullet. And when I seat it, I'm only seating it to about there. It's supposed to be seated. If you look at the bullet, you can see the taper down with the nose section. Right about there is where it starts to taper, at the end of my fingernail. So normally you'd seat your bullet to about there, the end of my fingernail. But I want it to be into the rifling, and it's got such a long throat, I had to seat it to about halfway up that grease groove. So it doesn't have a lot of support in the case. It's not ideal, but for the use that we are using it for, which is just fireforming, it's fine. It doesn't need to have durability. I'm literally blasting, and if you watch the video, you see I'm just blasting. I'm just making cases. So it's just a matter of sticking it in and pulling the trigger. No crimping, no nothing. So let's get over here and set up some of these loads. I'm going to put you in speedy mode, and you can watch. Stand by. There's the last one. And you can see how long these are seated in order to engage that rifling. It's got such a deep throat. It's crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. There's a good shot of that shoulder where the diameter goes from the 285 down to about 280, 278, something like that. So it's like a bore rider. I don't know if it actually is a bore rider. Let's see if it is a bore rider. Oh, it's a bore rider. It's a bore rider. It doesn't quite go in the muzzle and slide in. So it's a bore rider. It's riding that rifling all the way down. Well, let me show you what I mean for when we do the headspace, what we want this to be. We're in a safe environment here. Nobody's around. We're in a safe direction. When you close this, I'm going to go real slow. It goes about that far. It doesn't want to close. It's not fully closed. See, it's stuck in there. It doesn't lift back out, and then it gets pushed out. And if you look at the bullet, we look up close here. No, we don't really see any marks. I thought we would see some marks, but I didn't push it in there hard. No, I don't see any marks. But it would have been right there on that band where it goes into the throat, into the rifling. And these cases were neck turned, and they're Lake City cases. And they'll come out as you saw them. Let me get that tumbler going, finish out this video. I'll come right back. Stand by. All righty, there we go. So, here's my new barrel. We got up 50 more rounds of fireforming ammo. We'll be seeing some more of this. It was pleasant to shoot yesterday. It's a boom, but it's not a lot of recoil. And boy, it's a handsome gun. I really, really like this fore-end. I'm glad I found another one, and I found it on eBay. So I didn't have to pay full price because they're not cheap. I believe it's House of Arms that had these. I don't know that they have them anymore. I did look a little bit. I didn't find them. But boy, are they nice. Really, really, really nice. Because of the way you shoot, the way you shoot the Contender is like this. So it's a natural. And when you use this on a rest, boy, oh boy, that just sits there just so nice. Not really where it's balanced. It's balanced back here a little bit more. Of course, with the optic, it'll change. But wow, wow, wow. Just such a nice platform. So nice to shoot. Accurate, as you can see. So there we go. We made this video long enough. Another new caliber. It may bump the 730 Waters 14-inch. I may send it down the road. Biggest reason that I did it was just because shooting that 730 side by side with the 6 and the Maximum and the other calibers, the 25-20, it's not bad, but it boots you. It kicks quite a bit more, and it's just not as pleasant. And do I really need that? I mean, what am I going to do with that? I've got it in a carbine, which is good for deer, and I've shot a couple deer with it. It was my wife's favorite, and it's not going anywhere. But that's in a carbine. In a pistol, frankly, this will do within 150-ish feet per second of whatever I want to do. And if I'm hunting with it, there's not going to be different degrees of dead between 150 feet per second inside, for me, inside 100 yards-ish. But this could certainly stretch to 175 without too much difficulty. So this will do what I needed to do. Alrighty, there we go. Really nice. Really, really nice pistol. You get a chance to shoot one of these, I recommend you do it. If you own one, you know what I mean. All right, everybody. God bless. CW out.